Greetings and welcome. My name is Reverend Joey Emanuel, and one of the reasons why I've been chosen to do this video today is to introduce myself formally. I have been in several radio shows, and my bio is on my website, which is www.templeoftheiam.webs.com. And I wanted to elaborate more than I can fit into a web page of the things that I do, and I will include a brief message in channeling after this introduction. Basically, all my life I dabbled a bit in metaphysics and through several challenges like we all have, and some of them that we don't, not non-challenges. I used to always read books about metaphysics and angels, and I started out comfortably finding out who I was, and ever since I was a child I was curious. And then later on in life, I would see at the age of 5, I saw my father for the first time, and of course, naturally, like a kid, I ran out screaming to my grandmother. I just saw my father, and she was all crying because, of course, it was her son who passed away, and it just so happened to be on my second birthday. The reason why I'm relating this to you is so that you don't feel like when someone passes away close to your birthday or so forth, you have the human condition of blaming yourself for any situation. The universe knows what it does. It took me years to actually receive messages, and at times from my dad, and at times communicate with him a lot better than with the human people in my life. And at the time, I didn't really realize that my angels were when I used to speak to my dog, which animals are wonderful companions, and all that you can possibly think of, things that we usually do when we speak to ourselves. And through all the years, most of us that are known in the metaphysical world know. And how can I say? We know that there's something greater than us, and there's a communication that runs through everything. And later on, as the years went by, I started to journal, and I asked directly in the year 2000. In a journal, I asked God, I want to make direct contact. In my case, everybody that's individual, they might ask in a different way. It may not have to be in a different situation. I went through all the religions. I respect all religions. I think they're all wonderful. They're great tools to plant the seeds, and then so you can seek and awaken that seeking within you. So I tried so many of them, and yet I would get bored very easily. And I realized the reason why I was getting bored is because I was receiving so many messages at the time that I didn't realize things, intuitions that didn't make sense one with the other, except all the paths were leading to one. So, in other words, not to create. It was leading to the same path. So now I am what you call international, universal. And later on, as I asked God to make direct contact with me, He sent this being that I had no idea who it was until I had to Google him, and got to Google all that kind of stuff. I had worked with Angel. I know my name, my angelic name, or what you may call the higher self, would be Emanuel Solaris Oriasis. One of the things that I do in my workshops is that I teach people how to find their angelic name. It's not just the angelic name, it's the communication, and it's to develop that rapport, so that you don't have to come to me all the time and rely on me for that mediumship or that message. It's so that you can empower yourself to have that extra sense the same way that I had to develop it throughout the years, and trust it. And some healing goes along the way, cleansing, and many different aspects of that. And every individual, even though we are one, comes with a divine purpose, or more than one, and talents and gifts and physical situations that are very tangible, they're usable. In my case, I asked God, please put all my talents together. How can I use them? And when I used to read those books about angels or meditation and so forth and crystals, I always wanted to be able to do it full time, because I had a full-time job. And here I am. it just turned into that. And little bit by little, like in the 90s, I worked for the psychic lines, and that just like didn't seem like enough. It didn't seem like, I always wanted to do that extra more. And for people, and I noticed that I cannot get attached to the person, for I'm already doing, and the person's going to find, since we're all source and we're all one anyway, he's going to eventually find the answer. What I do like to do is like to give each being, each person, an individualized attention. Tune into your dreams, interpret them, which are messages, whether they come as a song on the radio, whether they come as a week. I like to call myself a clairvoyant in some part because I see things and I describe what I see at the same time that it's combined together with vision and words in the way of thoughts. Or and I usually have asked that a thought repeat itself when I need to transmit it to the rest of the world. Now here recently, now moving back, that's a little bit about me. So when I took this workshop, after so many years of studying, since like 1987, and before, and communing, it just came to a workshop that I had already known my angelic name in 1992. And I didn't trust as much as at that time, but I was still going to my spiritual classes and still learning, which was great. And the theme of that Sunday was step up to the plate and be exactly who you truly are. And I stood up, and the idea that you might want to try is to start, if you're listening to this video, is I actually got up in that environment where it was safe to share, and together with me or someone else of your surroundings, I came up, and what came through me, and the teacher was there, which was became a great friend of mine, that my name is Emanuel Solaris Ariasis, and I am a messenger to the Elohim, to the archangels, to the ascended masters, and to God's source direct. And at the time, I say this very humbly, I turned around and said, "Who said that?" And everybody laughed because I was going, "Where did that come from?" And I thought it was just my words. And my teacher, thankfully, and I hope that you always think exactly what she used to say to me: "Who made you?" And my response, because the word God is fine, or source, or whichever word is used, it doesn't matter. God made me. So when I used to question where it was coming from, I would get, I would answer that myself. And one of these days, when Melchizedek came to me for the first time, and who Melchizedek is basically, he's an ascended master who is in charge of the entire universe and on the council of all the ascended masters. He's kind of like, we would say, the boss in charge, or the supervisor, or the manager next to God's source. And but what he has is that he prepares human beings for their incarnation or their day-to-day lives. And he will send the most appropriate master or angel or being to you that you need. And the gift of clairvoyancy gives me the ability to be able to see what you're seeing, so that I can ask you several questions and allow your vision to develop, and I can confirm for you what you're receiving. So it's kind of like a process and a purification, baths, classes, and it doesn't necessarily need to be, how would I say, all in one shot. And from the time that I used to learn, it doesn't need to be. It's so wonderful that there's so many people that the energies are so accelerated, times of accelerating, and it's for a very good cause. And we are forgetting a lot of things that we think that we need to remember. And what happens is that one of the things that came through from that Melchizedek being Lord Priest of Most High and the Council was that time is not flying by, and we're not forgetting or going crazy. We're simply forgetting our human self so we can remember who we truly are. It doesn't mean that we have to go crazy or go out of our mind, but it tells us that it tries to get us to slow down, think, breathe, pace ourselves, to feel our positive emotions and seep through those emotions we so call negative. There's no such thing as positive and negative, and we're all working on that ending that's occurring right now on Earth, as I have seen happen since a year back in 2003. What I was told directly by this being, and at that time I didn't think that the energy was like I could handle it. It was so strong when it came through, and I just started to automatically write the message that mountains, buildings will crumble and temples will rise. Have no fear. The New Jerusalem is here. And as many times as I remember, and I authored that in a book under my angel's name, which was what I was guided to do, Emanuel Solaris, Oriasis. And Emanuel is my actual middle name. And so basically, Emanuel means God is with us. And when I was given that message, every time I hear it, and I see things, the events that are happening around the world, yes, and they're in our immediate life nowadays. Like 2013 has been all about things coming up for a reason of releasing, incorporating, integrating our talents, and releasing the things that we don't confront a situation in a different manner, so that we don't have to come back to this earth and live on this third dimensional world. We are to enjoy this life. This is a wonderful place, a wonderful planet, and we are raising its energy, and we will be eternal in it as a physical being or non-physical. For this shell, if I learned anything from communication with my dad on a regular basis at such a young age, is that this shell is no longer not really the only vehicle. It's like getting into a car, it's like getting into an airplane, it's getting into a bus. And use it, take care of it. This is your temple. And take care of your surroundings. You should come first, because ye are gods. Ye are creators. Ye are the manifestors. And in order to do that, and do it faster, which is happening now, good and bad, what we consider supposed to be bad or good, is to stay in alignment with that source self, that fifth sense that I'm talking about. There's a lot more senses, but I want to keep it simple. And what it does is that it speaks to us very loudly from within, and therefore we can allow things to unfold in Source's time and when we are ready, and break through the challenges. Right now, this is my first video that I've done after about a year of being on radio. And I used to grab a crystal and hold on while I was on radio, because at time, the mind tends to want to overload you and bring you all these situations of fear. And the smoke you see is incense. I like to constantly keep incense, keep the place saturated and so forth. And sometimes I wear turbans to cover my crown chakra, because the amount of information that I receive is a lot. But I want to make this as basic as possible. By developing this sixth sense, this extra sense, you get guided and live your life joyfully. And it doesn't mean that you can turn it on or off whenever you wish to. It just happens to be an innate part of you. And a lot of people are getting the inner call to find themselves. And some people are actually, unfortunately, getting depressed, getting confused as to what they really are supposed to do in life. They're not content with their jobs. They're not happy with the corporate life sometimes, and some are. Some are meant to be in those positions in order to take care of the third dimensional world, because we exist in that world. And so there's a whole myriad of people. And, my friends, one of the things that I want to share with you is not only just what I do, but I want to also share with you that energetically, things are shifting and we're born new day to day, minute to minute. And if you see me moving my eyes around, it's because I am seeing visions, and I'm trying to focus on this rather than the attention of the camera. And I can actually tune in throughout the whole world. I have helped people in Australia, Spain, and this is one of the latest developments, or that I've been able to focus more and see what's occurring across the globe when I close my eyes and describe to you in images what is the person feeling. I recently did a during Christmas, actually. After the Christmas day, I happen to have seen Master Jesus. And, of course, I don't leave the communication there. I know that there's something more other than he showed me some form of healing where he wiped the symbolism of where the nails would be. And anyhow, I came home and I just stayed in that energy. It's a little stressful coming back with the traffic. It was interesting. And somebody almost ran us off the road, but I immediately saw what he did, like this, rubbed his hands, and then the wounds were gone, and then I placed my hand on my heart. In that case, I was being guided. And this is the empowerment that I want each, and I know that each and every individual is in. Some of it, some people pay attention to it, some people argue with it, some people are skeptical about it, for all kinds of reasons. And one thing is also that you could also use it to be healthy. You can use it for your own self. You don't have to use it on a regular basis like what I do. You know, if you don't want to like that type of lifestyle. I tend to like it. I also like to be very mainstream sometimes. I dance, I go to parties, I drink champagne maybe. You know, I do everything that a regular human being does, and yet when I do my spiritual work, which is everything is a ritual, regardless of what I'm doing, but when I'm more focused as I am now, it gives me a chance to be more discerning and be more articulate, to pay attention to that quiet time, during that quiet time, so that's when I get the images and the greatest assistance. And I also get great assistance with people that come into your life. As we've heard, some of you have heard, some of you may have not. They come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And lately what I have noticed is that as the year has gone towards the ending, is that it's what the universe and your soul agreement made it to be. Sometimes we try and plan because of a custom, because of a habit, of a tradition, and it just doesn't work out. The people that you want to get together either have a different situation, they're busy, and it doesn't mean give up, but try and step back from that picture and see what is it that the universe wants you to manifest, because we're manifesting what our inner desires are by releasing, by letting go of the actual want, and just letting our inner desires come to fruition. And in the mix with those, what is coming to fruition also is kind of like, oh my God moments, can I do this? And all that kind of stuff, all these thoughts. And this is the time to go ahead and use your tools, like the violet flame, Archangel Michael. There's many different tools to use to clear. And some of them are just come directly from source, from within you. And if you're a little bit too stressed, you may not be able to read yourself. That's something that a lot of people have had trouble with, but it's not that difficult anymore. At least I have found it not to be. Because all of it is coming from within yourself. So when you stop the thinking and quiet your mind, let the thoughts just run wherever they want to until they stop. Of course, you breathe, you clear your face, put fresh water, whichever you may need, and you can make it. So anyhow, now to the message that I really wanted to convey after this brief explanation. So in other words, what I'm picking up as far as channeling is concerned, those are only examples. I say sometimes I'm like a cable company. I receive so many channels. I'm not even a subscriber, and sometimes I do have to close shop. But I only ask my guys and everybody else's guys to ask me to rest. Let me rest. Let me sleep, and I will get to it and remind me. That way, I don't have to feel hurried that I have to reach this person. And you don't have to tackle everything at one time. Sometimes all you need is rest. Anyhow, when I came home, one of the greatest messages and communications, I had two beings that came very dear to me. Jesus was very much present, and coincidentally, I have a friend of mine who I co-host radio shows with her sometimes, Miss Teresa Sixberry, who had seen Jesus at the same time, and we got together to click on into what's going on globally on the energy. because not everybody's going to understand us. But there are some people that are on the same wavelength and they can do that, and you will have your beings as well too. But we're all, at one point in time, there's no good energy or bad energy. It's just energy that doesn't, what anybody has right now, because I notice there's a trend, oh no, he has negative energy, oh no, that person, no. We all have just energy, good or bad, whatever we want to label it. It's time to break the habit, because it's only that, just energy. It just means that that person just hasn't transmuted what you need to. And accept them, just become the observer. Don't become the drama. Don't get caught in the drama. And if you can't help, and if they haven't asked you to help, then don't get yourself tangled in that. The domino effect happens as you work on yourself. That's basically what it is. And with that, I am going to remember and rephrase this is very much related here and tangible with the vision and the message that I was shown by dear Lord Sananda, Jesus, and the Elohim Orion. And what I was shown directly was kind of like a meditation, but a grid to do between three edges of the earth. But it was to connect how everyone was connected and interchanging energy from afar. And what I was shown is that inside it started with a small flame within every being across the globe. Seeing the entire globe filled with people, and in each people you would see the whole globe filled with lights, and yourself laying down or where you're sitting at, seeing that flame in your heart. And then that flame converted into your whole physical being disappearing and becoming a flame of white, pure light. And from that, I was guided to connect with every being that was willing to go through across the globe. Myself, Teresa was with me, and we were guided by our teams of guides. Melchizedek, I'm sure, all the Ascended Masters, call them what you will. Emanuel, Solaris Energy. Every single being became light. And then in the center of the earth core, there was a star, a Merkaba vehicle. And yet what occurred is that that vehicle started to get more enlightened, and every being went into the core of the circle of the globe, if you could follow me in this vision, inside that Merkaba. And it's more about light beings, light flames went into that, the more the Merkaba spread, and it got larger and larger. And I remember the edge of the whole Earth's circumference was covered with light beams. What this was is basically, it was us getting another enlightenment. If you have felt dizzy, or if you felt a little bit queasy after the 26th specifically, that was basically a nudge up. There was nothing wrong with you. It's not an ascension symptom, not to sit there and complain. It's basically that your body is getting used to a new energy because you're actually developing new talents, like what I'm speaking about, the fifth sense. But anyhow, we each look like, let's say, like this kind of shape, kind of like the flame, okay? But imagine this in white light. And that Merkaba, or double-sided pyramid, just kept larger and larger and larger to the point where it gleamed, and it went and expanded larger than the earth, and it went up out through the infinites of the universe. But at the same time, a grid of little circles within circles, called sometimes the flower of life, was covering the entire globe like a fishnet. And what this was doing was creating like a nice protective shield, or where through those shields each individual on Earth right now can communicate, receive, and send energy or information. And trust me, it looks like energy at the time, but that turns into information, into words, tangible, usable things, and communication. And that day I was shown that everybody was being able to intercommunicate. So let's say that the neighbor next to you, you don't feel your energy is compatible at this moment. It doesn't mean forever. or a parent or somebody close to you, it doesn't mean that it's going to be forever, but that means that you are never alone. You're communicating and gathering information from all angles of the earth and the universe, because the lights were also, like you see these rays coming up above my head from the lighting, it was going outward, but at the same time it was receiving energy and information in. And so therefore I saw this vision, and what they were showing me that was happening at this time is that the whole earth, Gaia, as some people would call it, was being connected in the human race, so that we can, what Christ says was this is what is called by the religions the second coming of Christ, that it is us, these flames are us, that we are doing it, and by what that we're doing it is the way that he did it. And basically by interconnecting himself with all the dimensions of this earth and every other life being. If you notice the story, for those of you that are Christian or or have read or got curious about it, he connected with all parts of the world. He didn't discriminate against anybody for the little parts that we know. There's much more information, which I would leave for another segment. But as far as for this one, I know that what the information was basically just to know that we're all one and connected with each other, and everybody was going to receive the transmission whether they were aware of that. So it wasn't only us, but it was very much myself and Teresa and Jesus and the Masters, because there was many things that I was seeing that it's not worth detailing all this bunch of names and making one go crazy. And we're trying to figure it out. But basically what I was showing is that we're moving up to the next segment. Whatever information is that we need is there, and if we don't have it in the current of the thought, this is why it's the importance of communicating or laying down with your eyes quiet and trying to get guidance, not from something outside of you to come and rescue you, but get guidance for something to take you to where you need to on the next step. And there are deeper levels to go to sometimes, break fears, to break cycles that may not be well to you, but then those are also other techniques that I use. That is too difficult to explain because you're on a bigger scale. I know this time for like a little bit of example right now. I know this kind of like general. I don't want it to be confused by like I'm gonna say like a random picking of a person, but I feel like a being, a person, and maybe more than one, because energetically they could be physical, but I see a male form. He is somewhere around the globe, and maybe Australia, but I see a dark skin, maybe a beard, but I see mostly like dark, like not dark skin, but tan, more Mediterranean to the best of my description. And that person is right now like watching TV and kind of like but feeding themselves their heart. They're watching TV, but they're like not actively engaged into the show. They're just trying to disconnect from what they perceive, but they're concerned for how is he going to feed his family even though he's been to work every day, and how is this going to get better. Well, the response is getting to me for that man, but may also be valuable coming to me for that man. And I hope he pays attention and catches this broadcast. And if not, it's applicable to you. Is that it's being taken care of. The call is inside of him to go ahead and make a choice and make a decision to shift, and that he will be provided for all the time. It's just to accept his prosperity, accept his abundance, accept his sovereign being, but in the most, to accept my prayer and my blessing, for it is united with that of sources. When I say I am praying for you, and anybody says I am praying for you, they're already saying the word I am. So if you're having this kind of like situation or problem, or challenge, I would say, to soften the blow. I don't like to call things problems because I feel that we're amplifying that old paradigm world where we were only, which is still very present in some people. It's like, well, we were just limited to only like 5 senses, and there are more than just 5, and there are more than just 6. Just tune into that and practice like slowly getting quiet, keeping a pad. I have accumulated about 30 different books and journals. Now I keep them coordinated so that I can remember some of the parts of it. And if I can't reach the pad, I'll type it out on a document and write the information that's coming to me as to what to do about the situation. And one thing that I actually teach is some of the information you don't like, feel the fear and do it anyways. You're being guided by yourself, not by something external of you. That's the difference of what I was explaining between religion, which is good. It gives you the faith if you have something outside of you. But when you're on your own, am I there? Is the reverend there? Is the priest there? In any kind of like organization or whatsoever. So basically what we are here for is to, and you are here for, is so that you can awaken on this journey and continue to evolve and help it grow the gifts of who you truly are. And this is one of my first videos, and it's informal, and that's the way that I want people to feel, although very much so when I treat you, I want you to be relaxed, feel at home, but at the same time feel like royalty, because royalty you are. You may not hold the crown like the monarchy. That's not what it's all about. It's about putting on that cloak, that robe, that hold that scepter strong, that sword of empowerment, whichever it may be for you. And I will explain more detail if you want to have like a little 15-minute session with me, I would say. And I could have a little introductory of what it is that you need, get a feel for it. You can call me or email me at Reiki, R-E-I-K-I, healing, H-E-A-L-I-N-G, hand, H-A-N-D, okay? So it's reikihealinghand at AOL.com. And write me on the subject, what is your interest, on that you want an introduction as to what we need to do with you. Like a little, it sounds like a mini reading, which is pretty much what I do. It is, but at the same time, it's going to empower you. A 15-minute session is usually like about affordably at $45. It's very reasonable, so that you don't have to spend an entire hour. Now, I realize that everybody knows where they invest. What I do is like everybody, I invest my time in doing the homework for you. I test it out before I give it out. For I don't believe it's one size fits all, and you have to experience it for yourself. How could I say? Directly with your own revelation. And what I want to take you so you can experience. If I don't do it with you, remind me to take you to do an exercise so you can experience how receptive you are and start from there. Because you are such a diamond, you are such a manifester, and see how when you shift that and become aware of that connection and consciously make a choice to be in that connection. Because we could get caught up in the job and come home and, we're still connected, but we want to make a deeper connection to hear our replies, to hear our answers. Then you want to be able to take time to learn, and so that you're not afraid, do a 15-minute, half an hour. I've started the 15 minutes to intro so that it doesn't always take 15 minutes, sometimes take a little bit longer, and I'm not counting the clock. I'm not going to say, hey, I gotta go. I take sometimes, there is no time for spirit, God, source. So I take my time in helping you, of course, moderately, not to exhaust you and not to exhaust myself, but to give you the best and most clearest, make sure that I'm rested for your appointment, make sure that I am clear for your appointment. We all have challenging moments, and so do you. So I want to give you the best. So therefore, when you're being taken care of, I guess you're being given the royal treatment. which is what I like to do, the one-on-one treatment. I have done groups, and usually small groups, where I have spoken before an audience, and still I've had people give the personal touch, and I will get out of the audience. I get out into the audience or have a line of people, and usually after the service. And this is where you can get these profound. Now, getting back to the today and now, we're letting go of an old year. A year that has been wonderfully fun, and towards the end, it's a lot of letting go. Things that we have to face up. Some we've had more to face to, and release, and work through, confront it. There was no way around it. Memories of this lifetime mostly, and random dreams. The things were coming full circle. From what I feel, that I see coming is there's more of a union with ourselves, a more understanding, a higher understanding of ourselves, because whether we've been doing the work or not, we're going to see ourselves from a higher self perspective. And when we do, we change. And don't worry about those around you that you know that are close to you especially. They get angry, because what happens is that your energy is going to clash temporarily. Always remember what I said, there's no good energy and there's no bad energy. It doesn't mean that they have bad energy or that you have good energy. They're all good energy. It's just that at the present time you're not vibrating, and you can offer them help. If not, you can invoke help for them, and they can reach them. Recommend them to someone. There's so many people across the internet that you can recommend them, whether it's me or you come to somebody else. You can do as much as you can possibly want to, but you don't need to hold a crotch. Like I said, by you enlightenment, just them being in your own light, they can either refuse it or go with it. And usually what I find is most human beings, they give in to, whether they call it light or not, they give into that brighter side because they see that your life is working, and they wonder, how is it that your life is working? And basically, that's pretty much one of the strongest messages that I can do. Let go. One of the things that about other people, allow people to fall off, because when they fall off, it's not on purpose. It's not like a revengeful. It's not a mind thing. The angels and the masters don't think this way. It's only the human condition. And let them go. Remember, you are sovereignty. You're special, and you're forever growing. And one of the things that I really continue to emphasize is the New Year is coming with a great bang. If anybody is listening and they want to make a letter, whether it's desires and another one of things that they want to burn and leave behind, go ahead if you like that kind of ritual. Like a little pot, it could be a pan. I like a terracotta pot, so like a fire outside of nature, and burn what you don't want. Or if you don't want to do it physically, you can do it by visualizing. I like the active ritual. For ritual is part of the word spiritual. And connecting with earth outside, connecting with the elements and being under the weather, and all the stars and the skies and the entire universe, part of that same vision that I saw that we're all one and we communicated telepathically and so forth. I like to also send the prayers of our desires if you know what to do. If not, you say source, this or better. And you put it in a letter, and you can also burn that one too and send them up in smoke. And most people don't, in my format, most people don't like to look at it until a year later. But to see what, that's one way of doing it. But if you want your desires, you can keep a copy and just put it in a little, what's called a little safe place that you can look at it afterwards whenever you feel inspired. Don't worry, you'll see things that unfold what you needed. If you know specifically what you want, write it in detail. Slip it under a pillow where you sleep. Write it in a journal. Just keep it there in your journal. It's no matter where you are, wherever it feels special to you. My journals to me are my jewels, where it has pretty much what's called a life story. And it's my story, and it's a story of connected to many people, which is one of them could be possibly you. And I feel that someday behind, before I have published a book and many journals, someone will find the words as they do, right? Then when they need them, maybe they'll get in contact with something like Melchizedek, like I did, and I didn't understand it. And getting back to that message, the buildings are crumbling. That means that the old world is crumbling. And the New Jerusalem means like a new start, a fresh start. It's not necessarily a city. It's like a lost city, which I recently received. Thank God to going to a trip to Acacia. There's such a thing called as the lost city of Jerusalem in the Acacia records, and not the lost civilization. So that's something that it's for me to figure out. Don't try and dwell on that one too much. But if you feel like reaching me and have some input, you're more than welcome. The email again is Reiki, R-E-I-K-I, healing, H-E-A-L-I-N-G, hand, H-A-N-D, at AOL.com. reikihealinghand at AOL.com. And the website is www.templeoftheiam.webs.com. And my name is Reverend Joe Emanuel, and I wish you much success in the new year, much love in the end of the year, and the continual rest of your journey. But every day when you wake up, you want to know what is it that you desire the most within your heart. And if you don't know, contact God, contact your source, contact your angels, or contact me. Namaste, and God bless.